Alright, we're gonna get back to work here on the jumping and falling animations getting played properly. That's the idea. So let's boot it back up. So it looks like Adam's still working on water stuff. Maybe reflection maps. Seeing what he can do with it. Oh wow, water's looking like he's made some progress. Not bad. He's working on all the cool shit, and I'm working on even cooler stuff, right? Because Bitey's actually here, like looking around, doing all that swagger. He's just texture streaming. Alright, so if we go to our movement states, so we need to go to our in-air state. So the question is, if we go to the in-air state, what were we doing beforehand? So there's what, two different things that we did. Either we jumped or the platform below us gave way. And I think we already have this information in our movement object, we just don't have it exposed. Yeah, we got this in air because jump. So we need to make a blueprint callable function, which is in air because jump. So we'll compile that out, and the other thing I'm thinking about is, so we'll get the jump animations playing. We'll get the kind of the in-air, the hanging in the air, and all that. We can get all that playing, but we're going to have problems with landing. I'm not really sure exactly what the land should look like. Excuse me. Because for us to detect if we're going to... I'll have to take a look at the animations that we have for landing and see if there's what kind they are and if they'll even work. Because it could be that we basically trace a ray below us, and if there is, enough... If there's, like, okay, we're probably going to hit the ground soon or something, then we can actually, play the landing animation or whatever, right? But it depends on exactly if the landing animation is literally just like you just landed, so go from like the in-air state to sprinting or something. We could see how that is. But let's do that after we get the other movement. It looks like the landing animation is just an animation of him expecting to hit the ground. Alright. Well, the question is, we have jumping. Let's see, what animations do we even have for jumping? The question is, do we even need a jumping animation? Like, is that necessary to have a jumping animation? I mean, I guess so, and we probably want to just like play the jumping animation before we actually jump. So let's take a look at the stationary jump. It's S spring. We've got 9 frames here. We've got So, interesting. So for us to actually get this jumping stuff to work properly, it looks like we would need to actually change the controller, the virtual controller for this guy. And wait until the animation's finished playing and then jump. So we need to actually have like some sort of movement controller state, that some variable on our state that's like, okay, if you can affect the animation, then go ahead and affect the animation, otherwise don't do anything with the animation. Alright, I'm trying to think. Basically we want a should control animation thing on our movement controllers. So it should be on the parent movement controller. And because what's going to happen, I guess, is our logic controller is going to say, okay, I want to play this animation. I'm going to play this jump animation. So how exactly do we want it? Like, because the things I'm thinking through right now is like, alright, so if we're going to play a jump animation inside of our logic controller, when it finishes playing, that's when we actually call jump on our movement controller. And if we do it like that, then we can't do any other animation. So if something comes in and interrupts the jump animation, what's going to happen? Like if we start jumping and then like Bitey gets hit by a meteor or something, what happens? If we're playing the jump animation and all of a sudden you run out of road, like you hit the jump button, but before the jump animation is finished playing, you run off the edge of a platform. Or the platform disappears. What happens? I guess it gets interrupted. So I guess it's up to the logic controller to figure out like what the hell to do. It'll like override it and say like nobody can set any animation states except for me. And it'll figure it out. I guess that's probably the best way to do it, is to have that logic controller override it. Alright, so we need to add a thing in here for the movement object, which is, we have auto set animations, and we're also going to need this boolean m. It'll be another boolean, and it's going to be a u property. What's a movement object? A movement object is a movement controller. It's just kind of poorly named. So we'll say animation locked, and we're going to set that to false. And then we're going to need some U functions in order to actually do this. There's going to be lock animation, unlock animation, and is animation locked. Alright, so animation locked equals true, animation locked equals false, is animation locked, return. Alright, so we want to auto set animations. If auto set animations and animation locked is false. Alright, so we can do that. Alright, we'll be able to call these things from our functions now. So let's go ahead and do so. Right, lock animation shouldn't return anything. Alright, cool. Let's see what Adam's up to now. What, he's actually in Maya making some 3D objects to see what they look like? Oh man, it's a slippery slope. As soon as we get one 3D object in there, we're going to need 20 3D objects in there. And then all of a sudden we'll need an animation studio in order to make all this stuff work properly. And all of a sudden it'll be Dashkin coming in 2025. Brought to you by Doritos and Mountain Dew. And that's just how life is going to exist. One bag of Doritos at a time. and that would be how Lemony Wee gets Bitey to follow her. Just holds out a bag of Doritos He's like, "Rrr, rrr, rrr." That would just be hilarious. Just obscene product placement in this game would be the funniest damn thing ever. It's like Lemony Lee turns around and there's like a big Adidas logo on it or something. You're just like, what the fuck? Are you for real right now? Alright, so let's go ahead and grab the movement. Let's see. Get animation locked. Yeah, is animation locked? Let's do a branch. Alright, so if animation is not locked, then we'll do things. Alright, so let's just... Now the question is, are we going to be copy-pasting this crap all over the place all the time? Or should we have some sort of is animation locked sort of thing? Or that we can bypass and... Well, I don't think this is too bad to copy-paste around, because it's like, if the animation's not locked, then do stuff. Like, that's okay. That's fine. I can see somebody missing this, being like, oh, well, the animation is locked. You shouldn't have been changing the animation. I can definitely see that happening, and it's not a big deal, though. I think I'll probably be touching this stuff the most. Because locking and unlocking animations is going to be kind of a big deal. There's going to be a lot of logic around just all that crap, so it's probably not worth doing an insane amount of micromanaging at the moment. So let's just get all these hooked up properly. Alright, there we are. Alright, so we've got almost all this done. Alright, one more. Alright, so the movement controller, we've got that. Okay, now we need the logic controller, so that's in gameplay. Player logic. Okay, so inside the player logic, we're going to need the jump. So we need to go into the jump function. Gosh, okay. So what we need to do basically is we need to play the animation for jumping, and then we want to jump. So I guess we need a Boolean variable here or something where we have like wants to jump and we need like awaiting jump animation. And that's going to be initially false, so okay, we need another branch here, and it's basically going to be this: if we are awaiting the jump animation right here, if this is true, then yeah, if this is true, we're just going to continue on. If this is false, then we actually jump. This is kind of ugly. So So the problem is, when our jump animation is finished, it's going to be finished inside of the animation component, and the animation component is going to get ticked at the very end of everything, so you're not actually going to move that frame. So what we want to do is basically know that next frame that the animation is going to be finished. Yeah, if this is false, then what we need to do is play the animation and lock our anim. Alright, so let's do the movement. So lock the animation right here. And we're going to want to play an animation. So which animation should we play? Let's just play the stationary jump animation. Stationary jump. We are going to interrupt, and we are going to set its duration to 1. Alright, so what does that look like if we do it right now? So it looks just like that. And we can keep hitting this thing. And he does this real slow thing, and it looks like a couple of our states aren't respecting the lock. So let's see. Dash state, if locked is false, then we can do it if locked is false. Run if locked is false. Yeah, here it is. We don't have it right here. Sprint, locked is false, locked is false. Stationary, locked is false. Trot, and here, again, like this. Alright, let's just make sure everything works. So we can move and all that stuff. Alright. So what we need to do is, I wonder if inside of a function we can bind and unbind events, or if we should do any of this. So it's if awaiting jump and I'm right, I'm gonna need another thing here. So we want to get the current animation. I don't think I want to bind an event. What I think I want to have happen is we wait for like 90% of the jump animation to be finished or something like that. Like we're actually going to grab the animation, get the duration, figure out when jump started and do it that way, because we want to know on this frame that we would have ended our jump, and we're not going to get the end event until the end of the frame, which means we'd have a 1 frame delay between jumping and jumping, which might be a problem, right? Like, somebody might notice that. Some inhuman person might notice a 1 frame jump. They'd be like, that stupid 1 frame jump delay. Those engineers are idiots. They don't understand platformers. And I'd be like, yeah, that's probably true. Alright, so I want to get the current animation. So do we have like an animation controller component, like get current animation? We have get current frame and all this stuff. Get wanted animation, we have get animation ID. Let's see, maybe it's inside the get animation, get current. Is it get current state, maybe? What does animation stats actually got on it? Yeah, so the stats actually has, it's got the start time, the total frames, the loop number, it's got everything on it. Okay, so does it have the name? Looks like we're going to need the name on here for this thing. Does the name even exist inside of a lot of these contexts? I mean, I guess not. We do have the ID on it though, so we can compare the ID. Why don't we do that? So grab the ID and let's just write this down real quick. Alright, so this needs to be a U property as well, doesn't it? F animation stats. It's public, but needs to be U property. Alright, so let's make sure we save everything. And we need current state. So grab the animation ID that we're waiting for, we'll get the current state, and we need the ID on there properly so we can actually access it. So if this is going to be a U property, I'd rather have this ID be ID instead of lowercase there. So we're going to have to go to Yeah, this is going to cause compile errors, and we'll fix all of our compile errors. So, just waiting for all the compiles. Alright, so MID. So fix all this stuff, no problem. Alright, cool. So that should fix all those compile errors. And what we're going to do is we're going to call play animation. We are then going to save the animation ID, and basically, if we have a saved animation ID, we're going to be checking if that animation is playing, and if that animation is playing and is going to finish this frame, then we will go ahead and allow ourselves to jump, and we'll unlock the animation that same frame. So we're not going to use animation events, even though it might be, even though you might expect us to. And that's just kind of one of those things where platforming movement and things like that, you know, where you really need specific stuff. We don't want to half-ass it. We want full acid. We need 2 cheeks on this game. You can't sell a game unless it's got 2. Alright, so let's pop open that player controller thing. Alright, so we are going to want to go over here, and we're going to want to call animation get animation ID by name. And the animation name is going to be stationary jump. And the return value, so it's going to be play with duration and loop by ID, as opposed to that. So I'll have the ID right in there, and we also want to set on a new variable here. It's going to be jump animation ID, and it's going to be an int, and we're going to want to set it right here. Just like that. Crazy town. What is this bitching about? There's no self set on this thing. Fine, fine, fine. I'll throw it over there just to keep the gods happy. Gods are a bunch of douchebags. Alright, so we will not interrupt. We will not loop. The duration is not 0. Okay, let's set that to 1 to start with. And what we should be doing here is snagging the jump ID, and we should be starting this off at -1. Alright, so basically we're going to get the jump animation ID. Which god is responsible for this? Well, why don't we think about that? I mean, it would have to be Bast, right? Isn't that the god of craftsmen? Who's being a bastard? So, okay, we're gonna need to current state animation controller. Alright, so cannot pass a literal to return value. Wait, what? What is this? Connect a variable to it. Cannot pass a literal to return value. Alright, so it's angry that it's returning a reference to their current state as opposed to a thing that, like, a copy of it. Why would this matter? Alright, let's take a look at this. This is getting angry because I guess maybe if I add a variable here, which is like animation temp. I mean, maybe I can just delete that and maybe make a local variable that's like animation cur anim state, and we change this to an f animation. Let's see, it's animation stats. No, I can't even do anything with it. Alright, well, it looks like we're gonna have to change this, and because we are not, it's not a blueprint type or something, the F animation stats, I guess it's just not a blueprint type, so we need something that we can actually touch inside of here. So I think that's inside of our AI constants. We need a blueprint type. And we need like blueprint read only, is that what it is? Yeah, okay, here we go. Let me try that out. So we'll compile that in there, and hopefully now we can actually access these C++ variables from our blueprint script and do all that. Good morning, Ishu. We are 5 hours into our stream right now. We're working on the movement stuff, moving a whole bunch of stuff into blueprints for Unreal, and then adding all the cool stuff like we got Bitey, so during like his idle state, he can randomly like look around and be bored and upset, stuff like that. And at the moment, we're putting in the more complicated logic for jumping. So like to jump, he actually has to play his jump animation, and then at the end of the jump animation, he jumps. So we're, you know, doing stuff. That's what we do. And I think Adam's also working on some cool stuff. Like he's working on, last I checked, some lighting and 3D models for some cave level. So we're actually doing interesting things today, I think. You know, not just like a whole bunch of bullshit rigging and Harmony, or a bunch of tearing our hair out with movement garbage. So we're gonna, let's go hook this thing back up here. So we're trying to grab the current state. Alright, so can I make this local variable here, like current anim state, and set it to animation stats.